Well, it is crazy how Nigeria's greatest weakness, which is its diversity, has become its greatest glue. So, to understand why no coup will actually fly in Nigeria, let's flash back to January 15, 1966. I call it the night the country learned its real name. See, guys, five young majors in the Nigerian army, these young officers, Major Kaduna Zeku, Major Ifejuna, Ademoyega, and Nuforo Okafor. Now, what did you notice there? Their names are Igbos, right? Yeah, mostly Igbos, and for sure, some were Yorubas. Now, the Saldana, who was Amadu Bello, was the premier of the North. He kneels in prayer in his room in Kaduna. Then all of a sudden, there was a bang. Shot ran out in his bedroom, and the Saldana was no more. Meanwhile, the prime minister, who was Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, was dragged from his Lagos bedroom, bundled into a waiting car, and drove to an unknown destination on the street and by the roadside like a common criminal. I mean, the whole prime minister was wasted. As all this was going down in the north, Ladoke Akintola, a Yoruba strongman in the west, came under straight gunshot from a machine gun in Ibadan. It was a well orchestrated all round hit. The finance minister, Festus Okuti, was not left out. He was also kidnapped and was never seen alive again. They call it a revolution, but guess what? The North, they not call it an Igbo-led genocide against the Northerners. To show you the depth of this belief, Amadu Bello's nephew, speaking in 1967, said, and I quote, he said, the coup was not against corruption, it was against the North. But was this really an Igbo coup? Think, think about this. Well, then came July 29, 1966. It was the counter coup. Northern soldiers rose to take back their pound of flesh. So in 1976, General Ironsi, an Igbo man who was the head of state, the general was in Ibadan. He was a guest of the Yoruba governor. That was how northern officers stormed the government house. Ironsi was arrested. He was beaten mercilessly. He was tied to a Land Rover and driven into a bush. 50 bullets to his body. His aide, Colonel Adekunle Fajui, was a Yoruba man. He refused to abandon his Igbo brother, who was his boss, and was executed beside him. Think about this. Can a Yoruba man in the present Nigeria still say that, still put out his full chest for his Igbo brother? Now you get the point. Time has changed. Tension is all time high. So that was how that night the military cracked open like an egg. Igbo officers were hunted in barracks from Kano to Kaduna to Abuja. The weeks that followed, about 30,000 Igbo civilians were massacred in the north. Train stations were turned into slaughter pens. Pictures of a mother clutching to her baby as they were both hacked to death flaunt across the globe. On that day, Biafra was born in blood. You get it? So most times you need to go back for you to understand the present. So no wonder Chinua Achebe said something. He said something in his book titled There Was a Country. He said, the Nigerian Civil War was not about succession, it was about survival. The Igbos were marked for extinction. So they had to fight back with everything they got. Bare hands, they had to fight back. So during the war from 1967 to 1970, 3 million people died as a result of this devastating civil war. It was something that should have never happened if the leaders as of then were mature or had conscience. You could see children with kwashoko bellies. These images still haunt every Igbo and every Nigerian with a conscience to this very day. So the Nigerian side carried out a total blockade on Biafra. So the world watched, Nigeria bled, and the military Since that day, you can quote me anywhere. Since that day, the Nigerian military never healed. It never healed. So you guys get this point. Nigeria is not a country, it is a chessboard. And every move is well calculated in ethnic algebra. Most people don't get it, especially those making noise about a coup. A coup is not in sight. Yeah. I say this because a coup will never fly anymore in Nigeria. Nigeria is not Burkina Faso. Nigeria is not Mali. Nigeria is not Chad. Take it to the bank. So look at the Nigerian military today. You see, you have the Hausa Fulani bloc, which accounts for about 40% of personnel. We have the Yorubas, which account for about 20%. We have the Igbos, which account for less than 18%. And the rest 300 minorities are used as pawn in the game. Why on earth do you think after the recent shake-up, the only guy that was left by the Tinubu's administration that was left standing is a guy from the southern minority, Obudu to be precise? Why do you think? See, guys, when it comes to power play, you need to look at the secret cards. Sometimes a very little man can cast a very big shadow. Just look at the federal character principle, which is enshrined in the 1979 and 1999 Constitution, which provides that every agency must reflect federal character. But that's not the case. The entire military is dominated by the Yorubas and the Fulanis, Hausa Fulanis. We as a nation, we are at a crossroad that if you want to be a chief of army staff, you better be from the right zone. If you want some oil block, you got to bring your ethnic CV. It's as funny as that. Then there's the presidency rotation mate. Let me say, it is an unwritten rule since 1999. So from 1999 to 2007, we had a Yoruba president in person of Obasanjo. Then from 2007 to 2010, we had a northern president, Yaradua. Then from 2010 to 2015, we had a southern man, which of course you know how he got there through an act of God, and we all know the men pulling the string. If they could find their way, they wouldn't have allowed him to be there. But eventually, he was kicked out. So from 2015 to 2023, it was the return of Buhari, right? Then from 2023, we had a Westerner, a Yoruba man again, the Jagaban from the West. And we are hearing echoes of a coup. So under which flag are they going to fly the coup? What you see in the society runs deep also into the military. No tribe trusts the other with the villa for too long. Yes, no tribe trusts the other to be at the helms of affair for too long. Now see this. The way the military is structured, a coup in a fragmented Nigeria won't be that possible. So for a coup to succeed, it must operate as a united organism. See guys, carry out a social experiment. You will realize that the typical Nigerian soldier is not loyal to the state. He's loyal to his blood. He's loyal to his tribe. So the coup dies before it begins. The era of coup in Nigeria is dead. Not because we love democracy. Not at all. Not because the generals are noble men. Not at all. But because tribalism is so strong. That is the single reason. So you see these guys, they do anything to protect the status quo. So you see, tribalism kills the revolution. It buries the coup in its own blood. So so when you keep hearing about coup on social media, just laugh about it because the barracks are so divided. It is fragmented. The generals are filthy rich, the tribes are armed, and no one trusts the flag. So the Nigerian military is no longer one army, it is a federation of loyalists. So since the coups and counter coups of 1966 to 1990s, the Nigerian military has never recovered its unity. The Nigerian military now operates like a mini Nigeria divided by ethnic blocks. We have the Hausa Fulani North, we have the Yoruba West, we have the Igbo East, and numerous minority officers. We also have the religious bloc, which is the Muslim North. We have the Christian South, and we have the Middle Belt, which can choose to go either ways. Then there is another clique, which I call the patronage network. Each officer is loyal to whoever promotes or feeds his command. So his loyalty can be bought. So when whispers of a coup appears, every region asks one simple question: who will lead it? And whose interest will the coup serve? That question alone kills the success of the coup before the first bullet is chambered. So it is a road where no general today can guarantee that the next division commander won't leak the plan to protect his rank and to also protect his people and his tribe. Number two, don't forget that the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, aka the Jagaban, is Yoruba, and he has been able to spread his power web across every zone in Nigeria. There's virtually no zone in Nigeria that the Jagaban hasn't infiltrated. Bola Ahmed Tinubu isn't just a Yoruba politician, he's a political architect. His survival instinct is legendary. In fact, after the general election, Naira redesign, and he was able to survive that hurdle. That's when I just knew that this guy is a political genius. Though his policy is not affecting the common Nigerian on the street, but he's good at it. He understands Nigeria politics 100%. Just give it to him. Though Nigerians are not feeling his vibes, Nigerians are suffering. But these guys understand how Nigeria politics work, and we need to give it to him. So, as I said, his survival instinct is legendary. Over 30 years, he spent building alliances deep into northern political and military elite to become Nigeria president, which has been his long held ambition right from day one. He backed, don't forget how he backed candidates like Buhari when it wasn't popular in the Southwest. He funded cross regional coalitions. He married a Christian wife, which is a very strategic move on the chessboard of power. So when you want to say this guy is a religious bigot, you're going to tell you, "Ah, what are you saying? What are you talking about? My wife at home is a Christian and also a pastor. Can you imagine that? So how will you say I am a religious bigot? So there's no room for bigotry when you're talking about the Jagaban. Well, it is what it is, politics. So today, Tinubu isn't just seen as a Yoruba problem, he's seen as a stakeholder in every camp's survival. The military knows this. They know that the coup against him is a coup against the entire elite system that now feeds from the presidency. And we are talking about the same military elite that have become millionaires and not revolutionaries. Look deeper. Try to see the bigger picture. You will agree that in the 1960s, coup were driven by ideology. Coup were driven by the desire to see a change in the society. But today, I see these generals as businessmen in camouflage. A coup will mean risking everything you have built and enjoyed from the government over the years. You will lose your wealth, you will lose your safety, and your foreign travel for uncertainty. These guys, they no longer dream of ruling, they dream of retaining influence and luxury. So they protect the presidency because stability pays better than rebellion. Another point I will raise here is the fact that Tinubu understands the game. And when you understand the game, you don't panic, you play it very well because you understand each hand anyone on the table is dealing. Tinubu genius lies in the fact that he understands how to feed the system without losing control. He keeps key service chiefs and intelligence heads from different ethnic zones. He rotates loyalty and ensures that every general has something to lose if the system falls. It is not fear that keeps them quiet, it is benefit. I repeat, it is not fear that keeps them quiet or silent. It is benefit, what they gain from the system. So as long as the military elite remains comfortable, no one is going to pick up a rifle. That is why a typical Nigerian general is bastardly rich. But let's be realistic. How much does a general earn? But you see these guys, they are filthy rich, buying and building estate across the country. And so what I'm saying is this: ethnic fragmentation makes consensus for a coup virtually impossible. So if anyone try to stage a coup, the same old ghost will rise. The North will suspect a southern plot. The Southeast will suspect marginalization. The Middle Belt will be split down in the middle. The Southwest will mobilize to defend Lagos, which is the power base. And in the end, no one will agree whose banner the coup should fly. And that will be the problem. That will be the undoing of any idea of a coup. That confusion is the invisible bulletproof around Tinubu's presidency. Then there's also the fact that the people, I'm talking about Nigerians, don't trust the military either. Because if you look at what we are suffering in this country, I believe the military laid the foundation for corruption in Nigeria. So the people no longer see the military as a savior, they see them as part of the same corrupt elite who have put us in this situation that we find ourselves. So any coup today will face public outrage, is going to face international sanctions and instant isolations. So the army is no longer one army, it is 1,000 tribes in uniform, each loyal to its own altar. And Tinubu is not just Yoruba, he's the godfather who built bridges with bullets made of money. The northern elite eat from his table. Even the loudest critic still whispers, don't touch the system because the system feeds us all. So the soldiers who once fought for power now fight for their peace of mind and their bank account. They wear medals, not morals. That's why no barracks will move against him. Not because they love the Jagaban, not because he's doing great by Nigerians. In fact, Nigerians are suffering. The suffering has tripled. This high level of taxation virtually everywhere. Nigerians are struggling. I know he's doing his best, but his best is not enough. Nigeria is really a complex nation to govern, but that's just the truth. Because every tribe fears what happens if the system breaks. So, not because they love him, they are going to do everything to keep the system going because the fear of uncertainty is real. So, in Nigeria today, the coup doesn't die in the streets, it dies in the mind of the general who realizes that if I move, my own people will be the first to betray me.